You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 20. Hi, and welcome to today's Small and Supercharged podcast. And today I'm going to talk about Facebook groups. I'm going to talk about it in a rocks and sucks sense. I don't know where I've got this from. I know it's not an original idea, but I'm damned if I can think about who did rocks and sucks. If you know, let me know. It's probably a radio show or something. Anyway, I digress. So, today I'm going to talk about Facebook groups. I run the Small and Supercharged Facebook group, which has, at the time of recording this, over 1,500 members and growing, like literally growing every day. We've got some incredible people in there. The group is dedicated to supporting small businesses, specifically with an equestrian or country connection. So these don't have to be people who are working with horses day in, day out, but it does help if there is some connection to the industry, whether that's they serve people within the industry or mainly, that actually. So it can be people who provide services, like I work with a range of different businesses, but also things like website designers, graphic designers, even accountants and financial services, solicitors, things like that. It's basically people who have got some connection to the countryside, even if it's a small connection or that they do a bigger job. Well, not a bigger job, but they have a different job, but they just work with people within the industry. So it's not massively structured in that way, but it's just become that way because I work with people who are predominantly in the equestrian and country industry. That's where the group started, and that's where the group has continued to build. So from livery yards and riding instructors through to photographers, literally accountants, HR people. There's a massive range of people in the group, and it's an amazing group. I am beyond proud of the group. I love it. It's so good in so many ways. I also run the mastermind group, which is my paid for group. That's obviously much smaller, but that's an amazing, amazing group as well, which I absolutely love. And that's a fab little group, and that's quite different to the normal Small and Supercharged one. The normal one is free, so there's a lot more people in there, and a lot more varied, and I don't know everybody as well. And that was something that I think it's strange because when it started and it was quite a small group, I knew everybody in there and they were mostly my Facebook friends. But obviously as it's grown and developed, I don't know everybody in there, which is not a bad thing because I've got to meet a lot of new people, but it's a bit of a strange one to get used to. So I am going to talk to you about the rocks and sucks of Facebook groups in my experience, because I know a lot of people have got them or have thought about starting them, and this is genuinely just a really honest take on it from my point of view about what rocks and sucks about them. You may have different experiences, and that's fine too. And I do think that groups are very different. So I'm in a number of groups, and I'm only the admin of the ones I've mentioned, I think. But the ones I'm involved with, maybe those people see different things, but I do see a lot of these things recurring, and I think it's worth mentioning. So I'm going to alternate. So first up, the rocks section. You get to know people. I think that in the group, because people, particularly in my group, it's more of a support group, we have certain rules. So a lot of people ask questions and ask for support, and you get to know people really well. You get to see the people who come forward and offer advice without any agenda. You get to learn about people, and you get to understand what makes them tick, their businesses and all sorts like that. And I love the fact that the Small and Supercharged group has allowed me to get to know so many people within the industry, and so many amazing people within the industry too. That's a massive plus. One of the sucks ones has got to be, it is hard work. I mean, there are over 1,500 people in the group, and I'm really lucky that the vast majority of our group members do play nicely, speak nicely, treat each other with respect, obey the rules of the group, which I will go into in another point. And they're a really lovely bunch. But even with a really lovely bunch, I have got at the moment just shy of 200 requests to join the group. There's a reason I haven't accepted those requests, which I will probably talk about later. But actually I'll just go for it now. There may be repetition. So basically when people ask to join the Smaller Supercharged group, the Facebook group automatically asks them 3 questions. Not particularly in-depth questions, but I want to make sure we have the right people in the group to carry on the loveliness about the group, really. So they're really basic questions, as in, where did you find out about the group? Because it's useful to know, but also tell me about your small business. And a lot of people don't bother to fill in the questions. So if they don't bother to fill in the questions, or they've filled them in and it's clear they're not a good fit for the group, as in they have no connection whatsoever, then they stay in that file for a bit. Sometimes you used to be able to remind people to answer the questions, but now Facebook does that automatically. So sometimes if someone's added a friend, for example, the friend gets, may take a little while to fill in the answers. That's fine. I do check back. I do look at who's answered the questions. So yeah, it is hard work. And I know that when I'm out with clients for the day, I do get a little bit sort of, not anxious, but I'm aware that I'm not there. I'm aware I'm not in the group. And that can make me feel a little bit anxious. So the next thing on the rocks side is the engagement. So in a group, you get much better engagement than you get on a page. And that's a really positive thing. If you are connected to a business, it's really nice to be able to get that engagement and to get those people chatting, get the feedback. That can be really valuable, whether it's your own page or whether you are an active member within a group. That can be such a nice thing. You also get the option to play that engagement sort of forward or back or whichever way. So if someone's helping you out, you are there and you can help engage with them and help them with their queries and questions, help them source products. Like, we get so many questions within the group, which is so interesting. And I'm always really, really touched by how people go above and beyond to help people with their questions and their queries. The next sucks is people breaking the rules. Now, I know it makes me sound like people should obey what I'm saying, and that isn't the case at all. The rules are really, really simple. It's be nice, don't spam, don't advertise, and don't share things inside the group, outside the group, because the group is a closed group, i.e. people within the group can see it, but people outside can't. And I think that's really important. So the rules are really, really simple. And the point of them is that I want people to really get a lot from the Smaller Supercharged group. I don't want them to feel they're being sold to all the time. I don't want them to be thinking, oh my God, it's more flipping spam. I don't want them to feel that people are being horrible to them, because, we all start somewhere. And I have to say the group are absolutely lovely. I don't think we've had any issues connected to this at all. But it is a thing, and it is something I'm very aware of, although I genuinely think now the group's got to such a size, it's sort of not self-moderates, but people, there's enough people in there who have been in there a while, who understand how it all works, that would actually essentially jump in if any of these things happened. I mean, there's a little report function when people do post promotional things or something that people aren't happy with, and I do always really, look at those very quickly. But people breaking the rules is really boring, because it makes me feel really bad having to delete things, and it annoys me because it does take a lot of time to run the group, and I don't begrudge that or anything like that at all, because I enjoy the group a lot. I do begrudge spending the time having to delete comments and speak to people when they've broken the rules, because I just don't feel that when I'm providing a free service, essentially, I know Facebook is, but I'm kind of adminning and facilitating that service, which I completely am happy to do. I don't want this to be like a moany podcast, because it really isn't. But I do resent having to spend the time deleting advertising, really, most of the time. That's the main issue that I do see in the group. And it's not usually from people who've been there a long time. It's people who have just joined, and often their first post is an advertising post. And I'm like, really? Fine. That's a bit of a kick. That doesn't make me very happy. And then I do feel like the bad guy, because I'm the one that gets to delete the posts, which is fun for me. Not. So that is a real sucky thing. And then you're sort of looking, going, oh, is it promotional? And it is deep down, but you don't want to be a bad guy. So it's very, very tricky. Breaking the rules doesn't make admins very happy. Another big positive is that another rocks is that the group can be a real force for good. And this is brilliant. So there's been so many really good things. Not that long ago, there's a lady called Moena, who is Mo and Moo, and they went to Badminton Grassroots, but she's got the most amazing story. Check her out. I'll pop a note in the show notes. We can find out more about her. But she got to Badminton Grassroots. She was a transplant patient. There was all sorts going on. She's incredible. And when somebody within the Small and Supercharged group told me about this, I thought, wow, that really is incredible. It'd be really nice to do something nice for her. So I put a little note in the group about it, and I had so many things turned up at my house to send on to her. I mean, there was one lady who's a really talented photographer, had taken some pictures of her at badminton and put them all together in a lovely presentation box. What else did we have? We had a nutritionist consultation. We had jewellery. We had, honestly, there was so many things. And it was so lovely that the group came together to celebrate this person who had achieved like really incredible things. And I loved that. And I really think that we can use the group more as a force for good as well moving forward. And I think that's really exciting, because when you have that many like-minded people together, I mean, we do it, it happens quite regularly in a little way. So if someone's struggling with something, people will jump in and help them. And I really, really love that. Or people will say, let me look at it for you. Or I've had that happen to me. This is how I dealt with it. And I really love that about the group. I think being that force for good, being a way to help people when they're struggling is lovely. And that is a huge rocks about the Small and Supercharged group. The next sucks is Copycats. I've noticed this quite a lot recently. And I know that I'm not the first person who's ever had a Facebook group. I completely know, I can hear the other argument for what I'm about to say. So don't feel like I'm completely naive on this. But recently there's been quite a few essentially copycat groups spring up. Yeah, I think with anything, when you're being copied, it is a bit of a kick in the teeth. I think people can see something doing well, but they don't see the background. And there's a really quite graphic picture that floats around, which is everyone wants success until they see what it is. And there's a picture of a ballet dancer, and one foot she's got her ballet shoe on her points, and the other one she doesn't have a ballet shoe on, and her toes and feet just look like they've been in a serious accident. That just makes me a bit disappointed, because often people who have formed these new groups have also been the ones guilty of the self-promotion in my group. It doesn't feel good, to put it that way. It doesn't feel particularly nice, but that's life, isn't it? And it's just a bit disappointing, I guess. So it's not really a sucks. It would kind of be in the middle, a sort of if you're doing well at a group, be aware that it's just life. But there you go. Let's move on to a rocks, shall we? So we've talked about the support that the group can give as well. And I love that, whether it's through helping people, being a real force for good. But it's also the support of a community. So even if people are just having a bad time in their business, if something's gone wrong and they just feel really rubbish about it, if the postal service has gone wrong or someone's delivery's been lost or something, just having somewhere you can go, oh God, it's been an awful day, I feel rubbish, and have people go, that happened to me, don't worry about it, this is how I dealt with it. They don't have to take that on board, but I think just knowing you're not alone can be so important to people, especially with so many of us working on our own at home. I mean, I'm recording this podcast on my own, sat in the office, which is lovely. I mean, I really like it. But it can feel, I mean, not doing the podcast, it'd be weird to have other people here just listening to me. But if you have got an issue, it can really kind of grow and churn away in your head if you don't have somebody to run it by. And just by putting something in the group, not necessarily being specific, but just saying, oh, blooming post, the post hasn't delivered, or this customer's really upset with me. How do you know what? I feel rubbish, what should I do? Having people have gone, been there, done it, got the t-shirt, this is what I did, or could you do this, or have you thought of that, can just make the difference between sort of festering on something and being able to go, okay, let's take action, let's deal with this, let's move on. And that can be so, so useful for your customers as well as for you. So having that community support is really, really good. Next sucks is going to be people not answering the questions. I know I touched on that. I've got just shy, I think I've got like 199 people requests to join the group at the moment. And most of those people who haven't answered the questions. And the thing is that from their profiles, I can't always tell what they're doing. I can't tell if they have their own business. I can't tell if they want to start their own business. I can't tell any of these things. And that's really important to me because the group is there to help support people, predominantly with small business. But obviously anyone who runs an equestrian or country business is very welcome to join, because even people in much bigger businesses at different levels can have, issues and things they want to run by people, and that's completely fine. But that's why the questions are there, because we've had people, because obviously the word supercharged, some people have thought it's a car-based group. So when I see someone trying to join saying that they want to supercharge their insert name of car, I know they're not a good fit for the group. And from their point of view, it's a complete waste of time joining. So I wouldn't allow that person in because it's not relevant. So I do try and sort of safeguard the group in terms of making sure we get the right people in who are going to really add to the community. And also from their point of view, they're going to get the most out of it. So people not answering the questions does wind me up a bit, because I do often try and find, and I do often click on their profile and see if there's any giveaways there. There's often not. And it just takes up time, and it's my own fault, because I shouldn't even enter into the thing of clicking onto their profile to see if they've got anything relevant that I can go, oh yes, they'll be a perfect fit. But I do, because I don't like people to want to do something and then not allow them to do it. But also, is my loyalty, I feel, lies to the whole of the group and making sure that everybody is a really good fit in there. So I do take it quite seriously. So that's definitely one of the sucks points in running a group. Let's go back to rocks, collaborations. So I know because of the group, there have been loads of collaborations that have gone on, and that makes me so happy. I can't even put that into words. When I see that people have met through the group and they've done things together that have worked out really well and supported both their businesses, that makes me so happy. And the thing is, these people possibly wouldn't have run into each other if it wasn't for the group and getting to know each other. So sometimes people suggest collaborations in there. Maybe they want to grow a portfolio on something, and people say, oh yeah, I can help you with that. Or they say, do you have any ideas for? So the collaboration might just be a guest blog. It might be that somebody wants a guest blog around a specific subject, and people go, yeah, I can help you with that. And boom, we've got a little collaboration there. And that is really lovely. And that really does make my heart sing. And I love the fact that people are actively working together and making connections that they possibly wouldn't have made before. And that is a real big plus for me. Let's go for sucks. Things can escalate really quickly. Again, I've been lucky that this hasn't happened often at all, but especially because I'm the only admin. I am the only admin of the group, so I admin. Obviously, I have people who are friends in there because they wanted to join the group, and I do get messages if something's happening and I haven't seen it, which is very, very useful. Thank you. And I get reported posts, so thank you very much if you do that too. But if I'm, say, in a meeting with a client or something, I know how quickly things can escalate. So it can go from a casual question to people getting the wrong end of the stick, or people feeling vulnerable or attacked in any way. I mean, not full on attacked, but it's brilliant. We've got access to all these social media tools and typing and text and this, that, and the other. But it's very easy for things to get misinterpreted when there's no, what's the word? I want to say cadence, but that's probably not the right word. So, if you call someone, if you say, oh, don't be silly, that can be taken in so many ways. If I said that to you now, oh, don't be silly, you'd kind of laugh it off and that would be fine. But if I went, don't be so stupid, it's quite offensive. I know I've used different words, but you know what I mean? It's the tone, and you don't get tone in the written word. And that can lead to people getting quite cross quite quickly. And that can be quite unpleasant. Again, as I say, it really hasn't happened much at all, but it's something I'm very aware of with a group, because you've got so many different personalities in there. You've got so many people in there. You don't want it to be anything but a pleasant environment. People can completely disagree with each other. I'm really cool with that. But it's when it's done in a respectful way, isn't it? And that's really important. And things can escalate very quickly, and that isn't very nice. One of the rocks is that people have got to know me. So very, very, it's all about me. Well, this point is, but I really like the fact that people have got to know me better. So this means that when I'm at shows and events, if we have Small and Supercharged meetup, people come over to me and we have a drink, take our own drinks, maybe our own lunches, but we can sit down, we can have a chat, and it's lovely because people already know me and I already know them because I know their businesses, I know how they speak, I even know their personalities a lot of the time because of, how they put things across in the group. So it's really nice to already have that connection done. And I think as well, I'm going to link that into my next point, which is networking. It makes networking in person so much easier, and it allows you to network online as well. So I really like that. I like that people get to know each other better. I like that people get to know me much better. And that is really important to me, to be honest, in my line of work. So that is really good. The next sucks we're going to have is people not using the group properly. That's a bit sad as well. That again is more disappointing. So, and it's connected to the rules as well. People using it for their own gains only. So people who use it to promote themselves but don't really give back, or don't give back unless there's a high promotional aspect in it for them. I really think it's all about give and take. I think it's important to give to things like the group before you take anything. And I think when people don't do that, it does get under my skin a bit. I mean, of course, not everyone is wired like I am, and I think we should all be grateful for that. So that's, it's not so much a criticism, but it does feel like it's a suck when you're running the group and you're quite, you're really careful with the stuff you put in there, and people are using it for their own gain only, and not using it properly and how it's intended. That doesn't feel very good, really. Sort of using it to score points off people or anything like that, I'm not really interested in. So it's important. I really do want the group to be a really happy place. And I know that we're going to have issues in there that, people having trouble or challenges, and that's fine. You can still have a happy place with people having troubles and challenges. I know everything's not always unicorn and rainbows, but it's just the way it's dealt with, I think, is a real big factor. I think another rocks, and probably my final rocks, is going to be that it allows real life activities to happen. So, as I said, we tend to have a smaller supercharged meetup at badminton usually. Again, which is just come on over. We're usually between two fences at the back of the Womp Arena, and we just have a sit down, have a chat, take our own drinks, take our own lunch, whatever, and just have a chat in real life. And the group has facilitated that because that's somewhere to promote the fact it's happening, but also it's because we have these connections already and we know these people, which is why they're meeting up. And that's really lovely. I'm also involved with the Hi Home Co events, and a lot of people that go to those are in the Small and Supercharged group. And I think that's how they either got to know about them or felt the confidence to come, because I think when you go to events, I mean, I don't really go to that many events, especially not. No, I don't really. And I don't know. I think half of it is a time issue, to be quite frank. But I also think when you're going to an event on your own for the first time, it is quite nerve-wracking if you don't know anybody. But if you feel like you know people, you're halfway there. And I think having the group does allow people to get to know people, which does make real life activities so much easier and so much nicer and so much less stressful, really. You're excited about it rather than thinking, oh my God, I won't know anybody. Well, yeah, you know people anyway. You might not have met them in person, but you do know them. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think I'm going to leave it on a high. I think I've covered most of the sucks points. I've managed to kind of put a few together. And I think I've covered a lot of the rocks points as well. I think if you want to start a group, go for it. The group, despite the rocks and sucks, I love the Small and Supercharged group. I am so pleased I started it, despite anything I've just talked about. I want you to be aware of the downsides, because it is all the downsides I've said for me have happened in one way or another. And it's not a bad thing, but I think being aware of it is actually half the battle, because then it's not a surprise and you're expecting it. The rocks points outweigh the sucks points like you wouldn't believe. I mean, a huge amount. it's still the most amazing group. I am so, so proud of it. And it has really helped me in my business as well, to be quite frank. So there are a lot of real positives about running a group, but there are a good hefty dose of sucks as well. And that's really what I wanted to share with you today. I do think groups can be hugely valuable for businesses. I do think they can be really valuable for all businesses if you can find a common goal that unites the group. That can be really useful. I wouldn't rush into it, but if you're serious about it, I would definitely give it a go. The great thing as well about groups is that if they don't work for you, you don't have to carry them on forever. But if you've got a good plan, a common goal, an idea that will hopefully unite people, and a good reason to have the group, a reason above and beyond a Facebook page, then I would definitely say, go give it a go. You've got nothing to lose. Literally, it's free. And that is my podcast about groups, what rocks and sucks about groups. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you don't know about the Small and Supercharged group, I mean, the reason this podcast is called what it is called, find us on Facebook. Just search Small and Supercharged. Answer the questions, please, and come over and join us. If it sounds like if you are a small business, ideally with equestrian or country links, come on over and join us. You would be very, very welcome. It's a great place to be, and most of the sucks things you won't even know about, so you just get to benefit from the rocks things. You wouldn't have known about half of these, I'm sure, if I hadn't shared, but I just wanted to share in case you're thinking of starting your own group. It's good to, forewarned is forearmed, isn't it? That's what I think anyway. Thank you so, so much for listening to this week's podcast, and we will catch up very, very soon. Take care.